left to right. Here's the people. 37 divisions on the ground, totaling 600 tons of humanitarian aid. And now in the photo pass, the Arizona wing of the Commemorative Air Force is the sentimental journey.
Just been informed that we're not going to same type of aircraft that President Bush shot down in the Pacific, followed by the SB-2C. And the PBJ with bomb bay doors open.
B-29 in the world.
Torpedo bombers, 65 American dive bombers spotted the enemy task force and screamed out of the sun.
Tempo of operations on the Japanese homeland increased almost daily. Day after day, night after night, the B-29s came on destroying Japanese military installations, crippling industries, and preparing for an invasion by ground troops. Thousands of the giant super forces by that F-4U Corsair. Before that trap snapped shut, we were on the verge of defeat, and most of our planes were obsolete and well outnumbered. Bomber Command. Its fortresses and liberators opened a daylight precision campaign that stunned the British, who told the Americans to expect massive losses. The RAF continued bombing by night, while the Americans flew by day. Make sure that their big friends were safe and able to complete their bombing missions.
American flag and the Texas flag as Paul Stender lights it off out there. Now, you may get a few sonic booms. Look at the flames. Feel the heat. Smell the smoke. Hear the sound of a J79 jet engine. Here we go. Bang it. Ah, yeah, there we go. A lot of smoke. He gets set up. All right, lining up. Here we go. Listen to the sound of the afterburner and the tires. And launch 3 of those slot ring parachutes come out, open up to help slow him down. And he got the drag chute out of that big 16-foot slot ring parachute today. Used that engine, mounted it underneath the toilet of the outhouse, and brings to like I said, the portalet. The moving outhouse, smoking and firing all. A single remote radar station had spotted the incoming raiders but mistook them for a flight of B-17s due in from the mainland. The B-17s arrive and, like America itself, find themselves in the middle of a war that had not been declared. The attack from the Japanese aircraft carriers Akagi, Hiryu, Soryu, and 2 new carriers, the Shokoku and the Suikoku, lasts an hour and 40 minutes. When the first bombs began to fall, Army Air Corps pilots Kenneth Taylor and George Welch were just returning from a night on the town. They raced to a small airfield on the northwestern coast of the island, and they jumped in their P-40s, which were fueled and armed for aerial combat practice. They took off and found themselves in the middle of the real thing. Second lieutenants caught up with the Japanese at Iwa, a Marine base and auxiliary field close to Hickam Field and Pearl Harbor. Taylor and Welch ran out of ammunition, landed at Wheeler Field, took the center of the island, refueled, reloaded, and took off to fight again. These 2 brave pilots are credited with downing 6 Japanese planes before their planes were disabled. At Pearl Harbor and Hickam Field, the devastation was awesome. Along the eastern edge of Ford Island, the center of the harbor, 7 battleships lay at berth. The California, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Tennessee, Arizona, and the Nevada. The Japanese hit first with Cape torpedo bombers. The initial wave of torpedo bombers hit the Oklahoma, California, Nevada, West Virginia, and an aging target ship, the Utah. The Cates were equipped with special shallow-running torpedoes designed specifically for the attack on Pearl Harbor, as the shallow waters at Pearl Harbor would not allow the use of normal torpedoes. Then came the Val dive bombers, armed with 1,700-pound armor-piercing projectiles made for 16-inch battleship guns, but converted to aerial bombs. These planes dived down on the land of Arizona. The anti-aircraft fire veered the bombers away from the Nevada on the first wave, but the Arizona wasn't as lucky. The bomb stabbed the Arizona through a forward magazine and exploded, touching off more than 1 million pounds of gunpowder. A sailor on the Nevada watched the Arizona jump at least 15 to 20 feet in the air and break in 2, forever entrapping 1,200 American servicemen in an underwater tube. The ship sank in 3 minutes. Meanwhile, at Bellows Field on the northeast coast of the island, more U.S. Army Air Corps pilots were racing to their P-40s. Just then, Japanese Zeros appeared and started strafing runs. One P-40 pilot was killed as he stepped into his cockpit. 2 other P-40s were down just as they got off the ground. The spite of 16 B-17s from the mainland arrive and are immediately attacked by the marauding Japanese Zeros. In the confusion, B-17s were shot at by friend and foe, and the frightened crews landed wherever they could, one in a pineapple field not far from Hickam Field. One B-17 pilot, Major Landon, trying to land said, "What a hell of a way to enter a war, out of gas, unarmed, and no place to land." 8 actually made it to Hickam Field, adjacent to Pearl Harbor. At the conclusion of the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, more than half of America's entire naval fleet had been destroyed or damaged. Nearly 2,400 Americans were killed, over 1,200 wounded, and 960 were missing. 151 aircraft were destroyed as they sat on the ground. Virtually every U.S. military aircraft in Hawaii. 2 battleships, 3 destroyers, 2 light cruisers were destroyed, 6 battleships were damaged. Our greatest navy, along with our complacency. The following day, December 8, 1941, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the President of the United States, announced our entry into the war with these words to Congress and citizens of the United States.
December 7, 1941. A date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. It will be recorded that the distance away from Japan makes it obvious that the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago. The attack yesterday on the Hawaiian Islands has caused severe damage to American naval and military forces. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous right will win through absolute victory.
Those were the words of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In the 44 months of fighting that followed, the United States Navy sank every one of the Japanese aircraft carriers, battleships, and cruisers of the Pearl Harbor Strike Force. Nagasaki, the city where the special armor-piercing bombs were made, was destroyed on August 9th of 45. And when the Japanese surrender document was signed on September 2nd, among the U.S. warships sitting in Tokyo Bay was the West Virginia.